Hello, good morning, and welcome to the Full Force News Burst morning show, I guess. The live with me, Christopher McLeod AKA Diagnostic 80, brought to you by Generals Joe's REBORN.com. How is everyone doing this morning? I have seen 4 people on. Hello, Ryan. Are you talking about the 301 pages are, or will that be on the weekly? Ryan will probably do that with Mark Seddon of Talking Joe as a separate kind of thing. Just because it seems more appropriate to discuss the comic stuff with the comics experts. So yeah, I'll probably be setting that up at some point. Mark doesn't know yet. Hello, morning, Nictimus, and hello, anyone else who's on. Hello, Daniel Morning. What kind of name is Parth? Well, Daniel, it's a very cool name because it means always hits his target or always hits their target, which is pretty amazing, in my opinion, anyway. Right, we've got a couple of things to talk about this morning. And also a little other thing I've kind of tagged on at the end to have a little discussion about as a little kind of rumor that popped up yesterday, but we'll get to that at the end. So first up, I suppose we might as well get stuck into the news as of yesterday because I was too busy to really get to it when it broke. Yeah, so we've got more wolf spider images, and we've got a SUPER7 tease to get stuck into for reaction, of course. Now, we'll start with SUPER7. And about when was this? May 25th of May, we reported on BBTS posting these listings for the next wave of SUPER7 reaction figures. In that group of listings, we had the Cobra Commander Funhouse robot figure, which I believe will be a new build. Yeah, I think we spoke to Brian about this because we talked about these listings, and I believe he kind of confirmed that it will be a new kind of build, and it won't just be like a repaint of a Cobra Commander figure that's already out. So there's going to be elements like in addition to that particular figure. Then, of course, we got Barbecue, we got Buzzer, we got Crimson Guard, Joe Pilot with a face mask, and General Hawk in this kind of like wave. Now, this is only 6 figures, and we usually get 8, I believe, don't we? We probably usually get more than that. We'll get 4 Joes, 4 Cobra, and then a bunch of kind of troop builders. But I think, obviously, you've got Crimson Guard in there, which is a troop builder, and you've got the Joe Pilot face mask, which I guess is sort of going to be a troop builder in this one. So with that said, I still think there probably are a couple more additions to this wave that we haven't seen yet. I wonder if one of them, and I don't know this for sure, but I wonder if one of them will be that elusive Tiger Force character that hasn't been introduced yet. Yes, there's another Tiger Force figure that they haven't released in that initial kind of run of Python Patrol and Tiger Force figures that is still going to be coming very soon. So excited for all of those. Pretty much all the other kind of things that were up in the air with Python Patrol and Tiger Force were covered with Shipwreck being a Target exclusive, and what was the other one? Python Trooper being a SDCC exclusive. And obviously they had SDCC, so I think they wanted to kind of like maybe push this along a little bit, because the fact that the listings came out in may indicate that they wanted to bring this out a little earlier, but obviously with SDCC happening, they wanted to maybe get that out of the way. And now we're looking at, I think, what is this, wave 6? This must be wave 6 now, I think. I've lost count. 6 doesn't sound like a big number, but when you think about all the figures that have been released, it's difficult to do the math in your head right there. The maths. Morning a Punk with Toys. Daniel is sold now about Parth. I know, it's wicked, isn't it, that name? We'll get to Parth Varma in a little bit. Parth means always hits their target. And Varma, I think, was something about protection and stuff like that, which is really cool. So it's actually a pretty wicked name, in my opinion. It's just different, isn't it? Ryan Daly says, kind of on the nose, that Parth. It is a little bit, isn't it? Repaint Crew has joined the chat. Hello, Neil. Much love on a Friday. It is a Friday, isn't it? I've got so much to do today. I'm doing this first thing in the morning. I've got an intel to craft for my Patreon group. And and a monthly to record at lunchtime with P-Dubs and JB. That's Pat and Justin. I don't know why I gave them street names like that. But anyway, yeah, we're going to be doing the monthly recording today, which is about PulseCon exclusives, which should be fun. And like I said, lots to do today. And then I've got to prepare for the weekly tomorrow with myself and Pat. Lots of stuff happening in 2 days, which is always good. Had a little bit of a break in the week, but at the same time, I miss it. I want to do these live streams all the time. And to be honest, there is enough news to do bursts about. I could always talk about the pins from Icon Heroes or the, that kind of stuff. I can make something up, can't I? Let's face it. We can just kind of pull stuff out of our butts on this show. Robert H says Tiger Force General Hawk, or Tiger Hawk as he should be called. Well, the Tiger Hawk is already taken now, isn't it? With the Eagle Hawk that was turned into the Tiger Force Eagle Hawk, which is amazing. I think that's my, well, I'm going to stop there because that might come up on the monthly. I can't believe you called that out, Robert H. You said the words Tiger Hawk together, and that means something in a very recent episode that we're hopefully going to be putting out. Andy says, intense, epic excitement. Any news on Alpine? Not yet. Is it too similar to Shawarma? Says Neil. Yeah, but you could say that about a number of other names that might rhyme with something. Do you know what I mean? Thank you, Neil. Great Corey interview, you say. I appreciate that. Thank you for doing this. You're welcome, Andy. Thank you for joining us. What's Parth's nationality? Nictimus Prime says. Well, the name indicates, and this is all we have at the moment. We don't know any backstory on the character yet, but I'm sure that will be explained when revealed officially. I guess during PulseCon, or at least not when it's revealed officially during PulseCon, because what I think might happen. Obviously, this is a Walmart exclusive, so it's going to be revealed for Walmart. But I wonder if it's one of those things where Walmart CollectorCon happens around PulseCon. If it's before PulseCon, then what I mean is this is really just semantics. If it's revealed before PulseCon, then we won't get the information necessarily. We might in the description, but we won't get the full descriptor explanation until like maybe Lenny and Emily show it off during PulseCon, right? Which they would do even after the fact. Or if it's not revealed by PulseCon, I imagine them to reveal it on PulseCon and then tell you when that Walmart CollectorCon pre-orders will be up soon, kind of thing, or something along those lines. We don't know yet, but we'll find out then, I guess, Nictimus. And what I would say is that it points to an Indian nationality. So with the name Parth Varma, it's Indian in its kind of origins, both names, the first and second names. So we're guessing Indian. And I hope it is as well. That'd be a great addition to the team as well, I think, personally. Certainly not enough representation in the Joe team in that sense. So that's great. And yeah, like I said, that's what we know so far. Anyway, coming back to SUPER7, we will get to Parth, don't worry. So based on this, like bunch of figures, we can expect these to be showing up next week. And I say that because that's what SUPER7 posted yesterday. Tearing into your collection next week, coming soon. And it was an image of Buzzer, the Dreadnought. And there he is. Looks pretty cool, actually. Again, reaction is that, let's be honest, it is the divisive line in the G.I. Joe brand, isn't it? It's one of those things where you love it or you hate it, I think. I think it does really kind of divide fandoms a little bit. Or, well, I say that, but maybe you can be a bit, what's the word? Like, not, on the fence, basically. You might say there are 3 parts to this, just like most things, but it seems to be an extreme viewpoint on either end. Do you know what I mean? So indifferent is the word I'm looking for. Thank you, me, for having a brain and having it work functionally for a bit. But yeah, like, I feel like it's either you really hate the line because it's, not enough articulation, or you want it to be something else. You want it to be O-ring. You want it to be a 4-inch modern, kind of figure line or whatever. Or you love it because of the, I don't know, like, the display aspect of it being on card, The artwork gorgeous from Jason Edmiston. The figures are kind of cool still. You know, like you could look at them and like still enjoy them. That kind of stuff. You know, or like the homage that they throw into it. You know, that kind of stuff. Or you could be indifferent and just, you know, you're not really fussed either way. But it does seem to have some very strong opposition kind of, you know, viewpoints on the line. Personally, I would have to say that I wish I could collect it all, but it's just one of those things that when you go through the priority list of what you're collecting, you have to be like, I have to kind of be very careful, and especially nowadays where we have, and like this is one of those things where I'm complaining but not complaining, because we're in a time where we have so much choice, so many different lines and all sorts of different brands. You know, if you don't like something that this company over here are producing for that brand, you just go over here and you get this, you know, line that this other company's doing. So it's one of those things, isn't it? Like, it's one of those things where it's like, you know, it can exist, and if you don't like it, then you don't have to really have anything to do with it. Do you know what I mean? So yeah, I think from a personal point of view, like I said, I wish I could collect it all, but I just have to make cuts as much as possible. So this is these are the kind of things that I kind of view from afar and admire from afar in those cases. But there's some pretty interesting figures coming out in this lineup. The Funhouse Cobra Commander robot sounds funny. I'm excited to see how that looks, because I'm sure it'll have all its like little, you know, like it almost looks like an O-ring figure. You know, the actual, when you see the animation on the show, and it's got like, you know, little rivets and stuff in the, and like, you know, hinges and stuff. So yeah, I think it's going to be quite fun, that one. Detective Dirty says, I like Reaction, but I'd rather buy Black Major stuff or Super 7 Ultimates. There you go. Exactly what I'm saying. Like, you can, and that's the thing, at least with Super 7, you've got a number of different avenues to kind of go with Joe. You could just collect merch and be kind of very stocked up and happy with the stuff that they produce in like t-shirts and clothing and like socks and sticker sets and pins and all that other stuff that they do that surrounds it, backpacks, jackets, all that gear. You could, you know, easily like get some enjoyment out of. And when it comes to like Reaction, you can put it to the side, and Ultimates might be your jam, but then Ultimates might be too much for you. So you might just be like, I'll just get the odd thing here and there. You know, that's how it is. That's how it goes. What else are we saying? That figure looks absolutely smashing, says Neil. Are you talking about this one, Buzzer, or are you talking about Parth? Because we'll talk about Parth in a second. I've slowed down to only G.I. Joe Reaction figures that are new characters, no repaints. That, you see, again, that's a good way to look at it. Because if you're a completist on Reaction, imagine being a completist on Reaction as a whole. Reaction has to have the most figures and licenses ever made. I can't think of any other licensed lines or brand, you know, like a line of figures that have probably had that much volume of stuff attached to it. Because you're talking hundreds of licenses, thousands of figures, if not tens of thousands of it. I mean, it must be high. I might be exaggerating, but it feels like there's a lot of Reaction figures. I'm not just talking Joe. I'm talking all the brands they've ever done. Anyway, looks like I'm drinking out of a vase and a mason jar. Well, that is a mason jar glass, I guess, but it's quite cool. I do need some new classified news, Chris. Can you help a brother out? We'll be talking about a little bit of classified news in a sec, yeah? It's okay to not catch them all, says Rob. It really is. I grabbed a couple Super 7 figures on clearance just to display them on card, with classified dropping hot fire left and right. Had to cut out Ultimates, just too much sometimes. Same, Rob. Absolutely the same, mate. Neil says Parth Chris. Does that mean hits all his targets McLeod is what you need to be put in there, don't you? I don't hit all my targets. That's not true at all. Jada Toys have Hasbro license, says Super Sign, right? They could make 6-inch hooded Cobra Commander and bikini G-string Baroness. I guess they could. I don't think they have the license, but you have to have the license for certain things. And I don't think they have the license to do 6-inch figures, because Jada Toys have the license from Hasbro to do specifically minifigures and vehicles. know for a fact they don't have the 6-inch license because that is now taken up by Classified, obviously in-house, Mezco, and I think that's it, isn't it? I think that's it at the moment. But yeah, I don't believe Jada Toys have the license to produce 6-inch figures for G.I. Joe. Only a completist with 82 to 89 and Classified, says GL. Totally cool. It is however you want to do your collection is completely up to you, isn't it? Totally. Parth is the figure that I'm excited about. You would ask. Yes, Neil. Okay, so Parth Varma. We'll get to Wolf Spider in a second. In actual fact, let's wrap up here with Super 7 because I just want to say one more thing. When are they going to do that crowdfund, do you reckon, for the Cobra airship? Because that has to happen at some point. There's no way they're just going to leave that elephant in the room, just like, you know, oh, all right, Mr. Elephant over there, like just hanging out for a few hours. No, that's got to have to cut. That's has to come soon. So I imagine that, you know, we might see that crowdfunding type thing later in the year, maybe closer to PulseCon. I don't know, in and around PulseCon. They do like to not piggy, but it's this not to say that they're taking advantage of certain things. Obviously, there is a reason for putting stuff out into the ether at a certain time period because it makes sense from a perspective of eyes on the brand. And that isn't a, what's the word? It's not like I'm not having a go at them for that, because that's obviously what I would do. But I would probably imagine it might be sometime in and around PulseCon where the eyes are on G.I. Joe again pretty strong. Like, you know, when loads of stuff happens in June and July and over, you know, SDCC and so on. I don't know. We're not sure if it's going to be a crowdfund, Robert H., but I imagine it would be. You never know, though. You're right. It doesn't look that big, but I still think it would probably require something like that. Well, more so, I would say that they'd probably want to do it as a crowdfund to just gauge the audience kind of, you know, to kind of like, you know, feel out how successful it could be. Because if they put it out and hardly anyone buys it, they're up a creek without a paddle. They're up a creek without Recondo or Tundra Stalker's paddle. Cheers. It's water, by the way, not vodka. What is it, 18? As if I'm going to be doing anything. I don't even drink anyway. Yeah, so I think it just might be based on the fact that it might be too much to just put out there. Do you know what I mean, Robert? But that's all I'm saying. I don't know. You're right. I shouldn't say, when's the crowdfunding going to happen? I should say, when is the eventual, do we think, speculatively, the crowdfund that we don't know is a crowdfund yet? Do you know what I mean? And I'm not doing a wink there because I actually do not know what it will be yet and when it's coming. I do bloody hope it comes soon, though. I really want to get the details and more images and product shots and features and all that kind of stuff. I want to see what it's about, you know, and also how well it works with O-ring figures. And also, we don't know if that was just a prototype that they'd thrown together, right? And thrown together, it looks pretty good. But, you know, like put together for like a display to then maybe the other one's going to be bigger. I don't know. Like, it's just, we don't know. Anyway, good morning, Todd. Now, George Greeno says that airship might get me into that line. Well, then, yeah, but also think about it this way, George. You get that airship, and you've already got a collection of 3 3/4 figures to use with it. So, I'm not saying you shouldn't get into it, but you know that's where I think, you know, O-ring fans could really get a kick out of reaction is with vehicles, and I think that's something that I think would have been great for. I think it would have been great for, what am I saying, for Super 7 if, you know, having, you know, not been able to do like an O-ring figure, but been able to get into vehicles that obviously fit the O-ring scale and do vehicles that we've never seen before. The Aspid would be great to do, wouldn't it? How great would the Aspid be for a, you know, for the 3 3/4 Joes? I like O-ring. I'll just say O-ring. Sorry, you know what I mean. Because I kind of say O-ring 4-inch. O-ring, what do I say? O-ring modern era. No, O-ring new sculpt era, modern 4-inch, and then classified. And then, but now there's so many different things. It's crazy, isn't it? But anyway, there you go. Rob said vehicles are interesting, not a reaction collector bit if those vehicles fit O-ring. Yes, exactly. Excellent point. Thank you, George. Yeah, I'm here all day. Nixon's Prime says, how do you survive all the stress of being a Joe collector without drinking? Laughing my A off. I manage. I have other ways, like collecting, for example, is my drinking, isn't it? Buying classified figures is my drinking, I think. Anyway, speaking of classified figures, let's get into the next bit of information, and that is Parth, Wolf Spider, Varma. Not the way I've been saying it for so long, Parth, Wolf Spider, Varma. It's Parth, his first name, Wolf Spider, code name, Varma, second name. Amazing. A sunny disposition, says Joel. Yeah, that's how I get through it. Yeah, definitely. Now, this was, again, shout out to Classic Toys UK who put this together. This is basically like a comprehensive list of newer figures that have been kind of released, recently, or that were still kind of in the, the shipping mode, shall we say, for a number of different areas. These have broken it down into import, EU, US, and UK dates, which was amazing. So thank you, Classic Toys UK, for doing all the hard work on that, the heavy lifting, I should say. Now, we should also mention that there's a spelling mistake on there. If you're looking at it and you're going Desert Storm Shadow, yeah, that's obviously Desert Snake Eyes. It was a typo. That's all. And going down to Shadow Tracker, Parth, Wolf Spider, Varma, it was insinuated that those two were coming together, but not as two separate figures, but as a 2-pack. And that's the information that we'd kind of been given as well. But it appears that isn't the case, which I'm kind of happy about, because I didn't really quite understand why we were getting a like two figures in a set, especially when I initially thought that might be Nightfall Shockwave, based on, again, another bit of leaked information. You know what I mean? I was kind of thinking, why would they do 2-pack? That sounds with no precedent for it. Walmart usually have this lineup of figures, and all of a sudden now we're getting a 2-pack. So yeah, it makes more sense now that it's clearly going to be Shadow Tracker, Parth, Wolf Spider, Varma as two separate releases. And there's Shadow Tracker. There he is. It's been a while since we saw this one revealed, but it looks as though this is going to be going into, like the same kind of arena, Walmart Collecticon. And based on the leaked listings, by the way, it was Shadow Tracker, which was actually Wes Milton, for anyone that wasn't aware. That's WES Milton as the internal code word. Parth, Wolf Spider, Varma, which was WES Tennyson. That was the character, the new Joe character. Now we know what it is. So those two. There's another one, and we don't know. Like I'm thinking that it could possibly be that Nightfall Shockwave leak that kind of crept out a little while ago, and that is Chekhov, WES Chekhov, which is supposed to be a Joe Redeco. So kind of fits, makes a lot of sense. And it would make sense to me that it wouldn't just be Shadow Tracker and Wolf Spider, but it might be the 3 figures for Walmart Collecticon, like we had Mole Rats, Shooter, and what was the other one they revealed? Why can't I remember it? Crimson Alley Viper. Yeah, Crimson Alley Viper. So it was 3, wasn't it? So I expect another 3 for the next Walmart Collecticon. So Shadow Tracker makes sense. Parth, Wolf Spider, Varma makes sense. And now I'm thinking this other character, which will going to be a Joe Redeco. All right. Are we all caught up with our leaked listings information now? Okay. If you didn't know all that information, well, now you do know. And knowing is something about, I don't know, knowing. It's never really mentioned in JoJo. Coming back, Slave just mentioned a comment here from talking to Brian at SDCC. The airship is a prototype. I got the impression they are still working on it, including the interior. Same Z's. So thank you for that. There's obviously a lot more development to go into it, and that's probably why. Yeah, and I kind of had a feeling it might just be like a little kind of model, and you never know. They might just scale it up to make it even bigger. And we'll find out, though, I guess. Wolf Spider, it says George. Amazing. Is that like Full Force, but in Wolf Spider? Need Cobra and Joe Army builders in this Call of Duty urban style. Yeah, so let's get to that actually, because I'm looking at Shadow Tracker at the moment. We need to be looking at this. Yes, beautiful images have appeared. Thanks to Chaz the Guru for sending these or tagging me in the post and sending them our way when he posted them. They're not his images. He got them from a source who wanted to remain anonymous, I guess, for obvious reasons, because they're leaking information. So we get this. I just think this is dope. Yes, there's obviously a lot of reuse, obviously, but it's cool as hell. Like, this is the whole point. Like, if something is going to get reutilized, redecoed, etc., it's got to be worth it. This, to me, is an absolute home run of a reuse, retool, basically a kit bash with some new elements. There are new elements involved, which we will get to in a second. Now, the box is a lot clearer on this one. We do have a few close-ups as well of everything, I think. I took close-ups. I can't remember. Let's get to some of your questions as well. Comments. This is just a random one from Super Sign. Any thoughts on 60th? All we know are 2 figures. We know Tom and Jerry. We are aware, and no winking now, but we are aware what they are. We can't say anything. That's all I can say. But it is, all I can say in terms of like a clue would be that it's pretty obvious. It's straight down the middle, as you'd expect. 60th celebratory couple of figures would be. Okay, but that's all I can really say on that one, Super Saiyan. Okay. Like I said, if I know, I'll tell you I know. And if I don't know, I'll tell you I don't know. And in this case, we know, but I can't say anything about it. So all will be revealed, I imagine. I think with the 60th, I'm not sure I don't think they'll do anything at PulseCon. It will probably be the first event in the year of 2024. The year of our Lord, 2024. Why did I say it like that? In 2024. What year are we in? It's 2023, isn't it? Yes. So next year, it will probably be like that January, February event that they do. That will probably be a 60th branded situation. And then they'll reveal a lot of stuff, and including a couple of 60th. That's what I expect. And that's all I can say on the subject. Okay. Neil Hill says they just revealed regular Shockwave. Surely they wouldn't have the Night Force version coming this quickly on its heels. You've been here before, Neil, right? You are the repaint commander. Yes and no. I could see them doing it because it would be the warm-up one would be they did the bat, like they did both bats almost that's on the same day. We saw both of them. So I don't think there's definite precedent for quick repaints in the Joe line. And I don't think too many people would be upset about a Night Force Shockwave. I mean, you might be. I would be well into that. It'd be like the first, other than Crazy Legs, which is still, technically nowhere near happening yet. Night Force Shockwave would be the first introduction of a actual Night Force figure. I mean, you could argue that Night Force Ripcord is technically, legit at this point because he's got precedent in the previous HasLab with the Sky Striker. But you know what I'm saying? Like the OGs of the Night Force crew. It's about time we just, give us some blooming repaints on that side of things. And I guess what they're doing here as well is with the Walmart exclusives, it's very much been a case of lots of new things. Shooter was new, Mole Rats were new, the Big Ben was new, Range Viper was new. And then you look at, I know you could probably well, actually not many of them are pre-paint. None of them are pre-paints technically. So yeah, I think with that said, it's like Walmart get a lot of new stuff. And again, like this figure here is reused from lots of other figures. So it's kind of like where they're maybe saving some of the costing of the costs by doing that. It's like just kit bash a figure, make it cool, paint it in an amazing way, and there you go. Whereas the Target exclusives are effectively just straight repaints across the board, aren't they? Have we had any? And again, some pre-paint kind of scenarios. But I think Recondo is the only one currently that is anything like something fresh in that particular line, really, because we've had Outback pre-painted, we've had Bazooka come out again in his red kind of gear after the fact. Duke was a repaint. Flint was a repaint. Obviously, if you get into like Python Patrol, yeah, I'm struggling. It's all reuse or repaints, isn't it? Vipra was a repaint, but it's like it's kind of like this situation, isn't it? Like this is like the Vipra of the Walmart exclusives at the moment. But again, I don't really have an issue with that because obviously that's what Tiger Force and Python Patrol are, effectively just repaints of other figures. So for them to kind of bring new stuff in, pre-paint stuff, all that kind of jazz, it's all cool with me. Reason the same figure in two different decos this close together does not have a precedent I remember. Bat, Neil, I just said it. Battle Android Trooper and the Python Bat were revealed at literally the same live event. Not sure how close they were in actual release, but they were literally right there, boom, boom, at the same time. That's the precedent I'm talking about personally. Don't like the yellow, prefer all black with tan, but still looks dope AF. I get what you're saying, Super Sign, but like I don't know how you get away with doing figures in G.I. Joe without color breaks. Do you know what I mean? Like otherwise you're not G.I. Joe. It's more like it's just a modern military thing, isn't it? Do you know what I mean? Like that's practical. Joe ain't practical. Do you know what I mean? Like there's elements in Classified that are kind of like, the subdued elements or like this, that, and the other. But, we're in a world where we have Crimson Python Patrol, Crimson Guards. You know what I'm saying? Anyway, it's, again, personal preference. I'm not saying you're wrong, but I'm just saying in terms of G.I. Joe, I wouldn't expect it. Do you know what I mean? Like I just wouldn't expect that to happen. Don says, I may pick up Wolf Spider if he goes on clearance. Interesting. I would be... So again, Don, like totally cool if that's what you want to do. I'm just all over this. I don't know why it really like. I don't know why it hits me so hard in a really excitable way. But it just this is why. Look at that. Look at that figure. This is what we came for this morning. I don't know why it's taken me so long to get to this point. But what was interesting on yesterday's stream, we were reacting to the rather potato-like images from BWT Toys. Shout out to them for posting those images, the leaks. But the images were taken on, I think, a Game Boy Color at best, because it was just like, it was almost 8-bit. The images were so bad. So to the point they were so bad, I thought it was Night Vulture's deco. It's not even close. The figure... I would say the figure and the render on the box have got a lot of like interesting differences. So if you look at the box art and the render, for one thing, it looks like the legs are slightly different. Not that I mean, the thing again, I think that might be like one of those things where they've developed a figure, they've done the render, and then they've had to change when it comes to production because of capacity issues. And this is something that Corey mentioned in that interview I did with him, where he was saying that, like some figures when they have reuse, they'll struggle a little bit because they're making these two figures over here, which require these legs, right? So they're making those legs in a mold with some other stuff, but at the same time they're utilizing. They need the whole mold for this over here to do this kind of thing. So you end up with this like thing of like they can't do something efficiently or they can't get something out in time for it to be. What's the word? Practical on the meeting the deadline, basically. So they go, okay, we're gonna have to make a change. So it looks like Scrap Iron's legs have been utilized, the whole legs, which is pretty cool. Good idea, I like that. And obviously that might be one of those figures that they're not doing anything with at the moment, and the legs work with the figure, and they think it looks cool, and it's like, yeah, this works. Bosh. So that might have been the reason for that render and figure difference. Now, the other thing I would say is the deco on the render. Obviously, because of the dark background, they have to light the color. They can't do that color, which is like a kind of like almost dark bluish gray, isn't it? It's like a dark gray, effectively, is what's the figure is kind of the base color, but it's got a very, very interesting hint of like a blue in there, like a very, like almost like imperceptible. But then if you go back to this, that blue color really comes out in the in the images. And I think one of the reasons, like I said, is to make it stand out on the box, because it's not, you've got like a very dark scene behind you, and if he's going to just melt into the background, that's not sexy on a shelf necessarily. And then you look at the image to the right of it, and maybe a deco change did happen, but you can see clearly there that is green and yellow on the vest, which is wicked. And I didn't know that was the case when we looked at those crap images. I think we noticed the green, but the yellow looked orange. It looked orange and purple. It looked like Night Vulture. It looked like what's the other one that we said it looked like? Night Vulture and Paraviper had very strong vibes of those decos. And when it came to the crunch, nothing like them. And I love that. I'm glad, in actual fact, because it means it separates this figure from when we're getting like, a Night Vulture or a, how did I forget it so quickly? Or a Paraviper in the future. What is funny, I say that, everyone's going to be like, confirmed Paraviper and confirmed classified Paraviper and classified Night Vulture. Not even. But anyway, you never know. Did a wink. That's going to confuse everyone. Right, charcoal grey, says Ryan. Yeah, I guess, it's got that charcoal, but I think there's something else in there. There's like a hint of something else in there, which I really like. What we saying? Touche, says Neil. Yeah, okay. Well, just about the bat, but that's fine. I get what you're saying though, dude, and I agree with you in a sense. We need more Bright Force, says Robert H. Brilliant. Ryan Daly says, so if PHL Salinger shows up on a listing, we'll never know if it's a retailer code name or the real name of a new character, Hacksaw. Brilliant. Like it, Ryan. I like it a lot. I'm not into collecting sublines, but this Night Force line is a must-have. Agreed. Yeah, that's what I'm thinking, Super Saiyan, in terms of the capacity issues, they call them, when they have certain figures being utilized to create other, certain tooling is being utilized to create some figures. Yes. So they have to take that into consideration with the line plan as well, like that lineup of figures. So if they release a lineup of figures, they have to kind of look at it and go, where are we sharing parts here? What can we actually do? And what can we actually, how can we do this so we're not crossing over or clashing and that kind of stuff. So yeah, it must be a logistical nightmare with a line like Classified that relies on base body reuse, like torsos and arms and legs and stuff like that. Obviously heads, secondaries, a lot of those, you've really got to, it must be a nightmare. I wouldn't want that job. I might want that job, actually. That might be quite fun to see all the parts and all the pieces and work out what makes sense. Oh, that would be cool, actually. I think I do actually like that. Is that weird? Yeah, that is weird. Night Force and Cobra Island are fire. Yeah, I agree. I'd like to see a return to Cobra. In fact, a cool theme would be return to Cobra Island. Now that all of those kind of issues have kind of been ironed out with, I say all those issues. That's not true. There are still issues with pre-ordering on Target and Walmart. There always will be, unfortunately. But for the most part, it's so much better than it was. I remember when it was, now it's like a false hope thing. Like you get a pre-order in and it gets cancelled. That's the new one, which was sold out in 0.3 seconds because bots were just chewing them up. Do you know what I mean? That kind of stuff. Like, I'm going to completely just put that whole thing behind me now, and I don't want to think about it anymore. That and the network fiasco. Oh, the network fiasco. We should do a whole episode on that and go have a reminisce about that whole time period. I think that actually would be kind of fun. Like when Classified first came out, that first year, was amazing, but also at the same time there was it was rife with issues and all sorts. But again, it was so cool to be there at that point of its inception, and where it is now is just crazy. Anyway, Also looks a bit, he looks like a bit like Night Fox now, Super Saiyan. Yeah, like this figure looks like Night Fox in a big way. Yeah, I agree with that. That was the figure that came with the Faux Striker, right? Or one of the All Striker releases. Yeah, Night Fox was dope. Raymond says it would be great if we had some backstory on the character. New characters are fantastic, but we know nothing about his story. Hopefully that will be rectified with, description on the site, on the order, and of course when Lenny tells us all about it on interviews and stuff like that. But yeah, I do agree with that, Raymond. It's one of the lines I'd like to see more media applied to, but it's, I don't know, it's like they don't really know where to go with it, do they, in that kind of stuff. Classified is almost like a beast of its own, isn't it? It's too, I don't know if it's, I mean, it would be, I'd love an animated series of it, but what direction do they go? Do you know what I mean? Like, I find the whole thing like difficult to understand how they would kind of go about doing it. And you could say, well, it's obvious they just do this, but they have to a certain degree tried a lot of things, and none of them really make sense. So I would be interested to see if they could do something for Classified. Even just like a comic would be cool. Like if Skybound did like a Classified separate universe, new creative team kind of comic, I think that would do pretty well with the Classified collectors, definitely. Anyway, yeah, I know what you mean though. We need more narrative. I think a really good way around this would be to put more resources towards the website upkeep, maintenance, which obviously doesn't exist at the moment. That QR code just takes you to the G.I. Joe page for the Hasbro, the Hasbro.com website. So it's like a, like the figures that you can order and stuff like that. But I think if they were to redo the website again, maybe, I don't know, again, we've had no confirmation as to whether that's been cut completely or if it's been worked on or anything. I think it would be great if they just put more narrative into the website and had like everything there for you to kind of enjoy, like character spotlights and videos of the team talking about it. And, like maybe even stuff like mini kind of like, not stop motion, but when you do like kind of motion comic animation, almost like, because that would be like a little bit easier to kind of do, a little bit kind of less expensive than cranking out some CGI thing. But you could do something like that did a little kind of storyline of certain characters, or storyline of Classified, or the theme, or like a little, video, just a cute little product videos and stuff like that. Anything that gave us a bit more information. Yes, I agree on that. I'm not telling you, Super Saiyan. Hi, Shark Eyes. How you doing, buddy? Adam, I think it is, Shark Eyes. You be playing good morning, McLeod. Happy Friday. I like that you do that with my surname. That's great. You can put an A in there if you want. That's cool with me. We need cesspool and blowtorch stat. Yes, agreed on that, Neil. Good morning, Sherlock. These streams are early in the Central Time Zone. I'm sorry. I know. I started at 8 this morning. Jeffrey says, yeah, Walmart cancelled my retro Snake Eyes. Thankfully, Pulse came through for me. This is the thing. We've almost been conditioned to make multiple pre-orders, and then when one comes through, we cancel the others. That seems to be like the kind of way of doing things now, because you can never be safe with it. I feel like Pulse is a safe one, but I say that you still do get issues with Pulse where they will, send you something different to, because they've run out of stock of something. And that has happened in the past. And I know some, things have been cancelled via them and refunds have been given and all sorts of stuff. So I know that they're not infallible, but they seem to be the safe bet for me. Like they'll come last, but you'll get it at some point. George, totally agree with you on that, mate. Action Force SAS vibes for me. You're totally right. We should be talking about this figure in front of me right now, and I keep getting sidetracked by comments. Apologies. Funko is the only other one that comes to mind. Shark, you talking about the reaction comment I made earlier about the amount of licenses? And yeah, I think you're right. I think Funko and reaction are kind of on par with the amount. Well, you're right. Funko's probably got more. This is where file cards are missed, says John. Hi, John. Yes, absolutely agree with you on that one, mate. That's something, again, file cards could be all over a website. no issues there. You can have as many file cards as you want on the website and as much space to go into detail as you want on a website. You don't need, you know, you get your copywriter to get stuck in and bust some stuff out for each character, you know, like give it some depth. Agree with that on that one. QR codes should go to that. Yeah, I agree. The QR code should take you to the website, and then you should have everything at your disposal. All of the ability keys. You could click on a character and it would show you those ability. The ability key would come up and give you all the information for each ability, so you don't have to like search for it. Although I do quite enjoy that now. It's weird. Yes, Cobra Brothers. Yeah, there is a Beachhead version 3 vibe here. The vintage version 3 with the Battle Core one. I definitely agree with that. And it's funny because they have talked about Beachhead, Battle Core Beachhead being like, I think Emily said that was one of her favorite figures in one of the streams. So yeah, it's kind of interesting that, and obviously it helps that Beachhead secondary is on the figure, even though it is the classified Beachhead secondary, not really the vintage style Beachhead secondary. But it's good that they've got more use out of that, I think, personally, because I really like that, the web gear. It's wicked looking, really tactical. Robert H says, just use the designs for the Energon universe. They're already collecting Dark Energon. Yeah, I guess they are. Charlotte says, I 100% thought this was a Night Force Beachhead when I first saw it. It does have that vibe, doesn't it? Rob Walsh says, Call of Duty crossover, have Baroness or Wolf Spider as a playable character. That would be kind of cool, actually. I mean, you see that a lot in lots of different, you know, kind of computer games where you get crossover with celebrity, crossover, you know, Fortnite does it a lot with all sorts of different brands. So yeah, I think a Call of Duty crossover where you had like 1 or 2 characters join might be a pretty cool idea and would probably hit the target audience a bit like cleaner. Do you know what I mean? Like, I feel like going to Fortnite, obviously there was an idea there to like get into a new audience, like a younger audience, a gaming audience. But if you were to go into the Call of Duty realm, you've probably got a lot of that age group, that kind of audience that like grew up with G.I. Joe already kind of operating in that arena. Do you know what I mean? So I think that would be that might be a good way to go about it. The fact, obviously, now that we've got a AAA game in production that is now moved on to the next phase, excited about that. That's where I'm like excited to see what they do with that. But I don't think it's going to be classified design related. So I am intrigued as to the what this whole new universe is going to be, honestly. J. Robert Bryans has asked, when is Wolf Spider supposed to be released? So at the moment, I did mention at the beginning that we don't have a release date for it. What we do have is that it's the expectation that it's the Walmart Collecticon in fall, probably, like I said, in and around PulseCon. Yep. But we don't know. Whenever Walmart fall usually falls, someone will know. I'll just look at when we did a Walmart Collecticon from the previous and see roughly where that is. But yeah, that might be the best way to kind of get a gauge or an idea. Pulse just seems to take forever, says Rob. It does, yes. Wilfredo Diaz says, it's okay looking figure, but I'm not digging the yellow on him. To me, it would stand out too much. I would love it if it was a darker color scheme. Yeah, we kind of talked about that a little bit, Wilfredo, but I'm surprised that anyone that expects all dark color schemes on Joe figures. We'll get that, I guess, with a lot of Night Force guys who are just like dark blue, grey, green kind of thing. I know Outback, but then again, Outback's got that popper hair color, hasn't he? So I suppose that is a bit of color on him. Quick intro to Wolf Spider in a Real American Hero 301 would work well. Yes, Johnny, totally. Bring that character into the comics, definitely. Going Call of Duty route would mean new modern designs, and they're still doing retro style, so maybe they're saving the Call of Duty for video game and movie figures, maybe. Like, who knows if they have any Call of Duty aspirations? It might be that they're looking at their own to see if their own studio can produce something that, you know, that covers that kind of, that scratches that itch, shall we say. Don't forget to let your viewers click on the like button. You can go nuts. Click the like, click a react. You know, if you're on YouTube, thumbs up, all that kind of good stuff. And yeah, keep just watch, consume how you do. It's all good. I don't mind at the end of the day, but we do appreciate it. If you haven't subbed to the YouTube channel, we also really appreciate that too. Closing in extraordinarily slowly on 5K. Feels low, doesn't it? Feels low, but it's. We can do better. So come on, guys, you can help us out on that one. Let's look at. I'll come back to some of the other comments in a second, but I do want to get through this before the end of before we get to 9. Did a close up here on some of the heads. So what we can say here now, he has got a build that I think is effectively. Hang on, someone sent me this the other day, and I think this is actually. I think it was Darren Marshall sent me this the other day, and I think this is a pretty good approximation of what the build is. So head and neck Kamakura with darker skin tone, obviously. The torso apparently is dusty, which is interesting. Arms, waist, legs, scrap iron, and vest, holster, and pistol, and left leg pouch. Vest, holster, pistol, and left leg. The pistol pouch and the pistol holster and the left leg pouch are beachhead. Backpack, knife, shotgun, Lieutenant Falcon, and then the rope, helmet, night vision goggles, and this kind of like mask are new accessories. So there are some new things in this, which is pretty cool. Yeah, so it's a Kamakura head, Justin, but yeah, it does have a Firefly kind of vibe as well, doesn't it? I mean, it's a character in a balaclava. They all look the blooming same, don't they? So yeah, I just wanted to kind of call that out while we were looking at the close-ups here, because one, I love that Tampo patch on the shoulder, the kind of wolf spider on his shoulder. That's wicked. I also love the helmet is so cool, and then to have the like night vision goggle attachment on there too. I can't wait to see how that works. I'm hoping it's like sturdy. It looks like it's staying up on there, but yeah, and then you kind of fold it down for the actual night vision goggles. It's well cool. I'm really into this. And I really like the design. I love the yellow additions on the helmet. There was the shout out earlier from George. He mentioned Action Force SAS vibes, and it does, because obviously the SAS was a black and yellow kind of deco kind of scenario, but obviously this is like a dark charcoal grey, green and yellow, but it still has those vibes. I totally agree with that. Yeah. Anyway, that's that. Thank you, Darren, as well, for kind of giving me that breakdown of the build and everything. It's his eyes that made me think of the new Firefly. Yeah, I'm totally with you on that one. There's definitely a Firefly feel on it. What is it with every G.I. Joe needing a shotgun? Ben says, because does the mask fit with the helmet? I don't know, but I don't think it does, because it looks like it goes around where the ears would be, and it looks like obviously you've got the coverage on the helmet, so maybe they don't go together. It looks like the night vision goggles are on the render rather than on the mask. So maybe you can't get them on with the helmet. I would suggest that they probably aren't compatible, but you never know. It could be really cool actually if you could have both on. The mask, the helmet, and the night vision goggles, like friggin' absolute overkill. Classified overkill, confirmed by Chris. That's a joke, by the way. It's the Joe side answer to the mole rats. Both could be single characters, or you could cover their facial features and call them any army builders. The wolf spiders could just be a Night Force unit. True. It's however you want to look at it as well a lot of the time. And Figure Six Pack says the shotguns are for close quarters combat. Yes, they are. Gross, but yeah, true. Robert H says, I'm shocked no other company tried to get into the military toy world by picking up the license to Rainbow Six Siege. They do a great job at making all those characters feel unique and different. I don't think there has been any figures for that, have there? I don't think there have. I wish you would come with a different pack and gun. Shotgun doesn't make sense to me for this character, says Jarhead. Yeah, okay, fair enough. I think that's it. Yeah, I think that's it for everyone. I think I've got everyone's stuff here. I bet you could put the helmet on with the mask and either take the nods off or leave them up. Yeah, I would be. I don't want to say you can, but it would be cool if you could. If the mask and the helmet both go on at the same time, that's amazing. I haven't seen that happen yet, though. as soon as I see it happen, I'll be happy. But I don't want to say yes or no on that one. But you're probably right, Charlotte. Night Force Wolf Spider figure can be served as a classified kits figure to upgrade your other classified figures. For example, the holster kits at his thigh can be used for the Falcon figure, I guess. Thank you, Gotham. Matt O'Brien says, morning, Chris, and all you double F'ers. Do we know what time the Target figures go up for pre-order today? Huh? August the 25th. I'm way off the mark there. What Target figures are going up today? It's August. It's not September, right? Have I missed something? Guys, let me know in the comments, please. Have I missed something? I'm not aware of Target stuff going up today. How did I miss that? If I have done. Let me know what you're talking about, please. Could the Wolf Spiders be a regional team from a different country? They could, if you want them to be. Effectively, this is a character, though, isn't it? It's an actual character. Parth Varma is his name, and Wolf Spider is his code name. So I guess, like, you could do what you... Oh, sorry, McFarlane drops today. Thank you. Of course, sorry. I see what you mean, because it's the full geek out, isn't it? I see what you mean. Sorry, Matt. Yeah, that will be at... What is it? It's 8 a.m. Central, I think, or 9 a.m. Central. Yeah, so it'll be... No, sorry, it's 8 a.m. Central, 9 a.m. Eastern, so in 3 minutes' time. Thank you. God, that confused the crap out of me. I completely forgot that Target Full Geek Out was happening. What an idiot. Sorry. Yeah, there you go. The what we could see potentially for G.I. Joe won't be today. Yeah. Whew. God, my heart, guys. And that's every Friday, basically. Yeah. Cool. Okay, cool. I'm happy about that. That really, I need to relax more, don't I? Anyway, Parth Varma, aka Wolf Spider, very cool looking figure. I'm really digging this this reuse tool. I've said it before. I don't have to say it again. Awesome. And here I just wanted to show you the difference between, you know, what images can do to you, and the box art obviously very, very misleading in the color on this one for me. And then obviously the much better, very good images of the actual figure show a much different deco. And that's all I wanted to show you guys on that particular one. But I understand why they do that on the box to make it stand out from that darker background. Because yeah, it would literally camouflage in, wouldn't it? Anyway, well, the last thing was this, because this was the last image I had that we didn't have. We don't have a clear back image yet, but we kind of know what's coming and know what the situation is. I haven't seen what the rope is yet, though. The images don't show the rope, do they? I will get that Beachhead. I know what you're saying. Beachhead version 3 does look just like this. Beachhead V3. Yeah, very much so. In actual fact, kind of looks a little bit closer to... There we go. Thanks to 3D Joe's. I'll get the right side of it. There we go. There's Beachhead. It does have that vibe, doesn't it? Definitely. But obviously that figure is, yeah, kind of like, you know, all sorts of colors. But I know what you mean. Yeah, that yellow definitely kind of really makes it pop. Totally. It is Falcon's gear, correct. Backpack, shotgun, knife, and that's it, I think. Yeah. Yeah, the rope, the helmet, the MVGs, and the mask are all new. Falcon is the backpack, knife, and shotgun. Yep. Cool. Wasn't there a character in Storm Force stories when Action Force was in the Battle comics? Yes, Paul. There was. That's gonna bug me. I'll have a look. I'll have a look after the fact and maybe get back to you if I remember. But yeah, I believe so. Anyway, the last thing I wanted to talk about before we go is a little kind of interesting news story broke the other day, more of a rumor than anything else, and that is that Super7 might have the kind of like the rights to mask, not just like the rights to do, to have a lot to do the license, but they might actually have the entire thing, which is quite interesting. They might have acquired it from Hasbro. Now, there is no the only real confirmation, or the only real source that this is coming from is Ramen Toys, who had that relationship with Super7 regarding Silverhawks, but then that turned into something that was an issue. So Ramen Toys have kind of been doing I don't know. I don't know how they're kind of getting away sometimes with some of it, and sometimes they're not, because they get cease and desists and they have to not produce some stuff. But there is a hint that Super7 have this license fully. Now, again, I'm only talking about it because it came up the other day and that kind of stuff. But I have to kind of really take this with a pinch of salt. I have no confirmation yet officially, or I don't know anything on the undertones that are kind of yaying or naying this. It does feel a little bit like maybe is a misunderstanding here, or maybe it might be a little bit off in terms of what's being explained. But if it is the case, and I just wanted to maybe do if this is the case, more of a chat than this is the case, because we don't know if it is or not. And if I was a betting man, I'd probably say no, it's not the case, but you never know. So I would say that with this being a possibility with Super7, what that might look like. Obviously, Super7 is reaction and ultimates, isn't it? It's very unlikely that they'll do some sort of new line that is a 4-inch, like a smaller figure kind of vehicle, 2-inch line, 2 or 3-inch. I can't remember what the scale is, but they're small figures. So I don't know. I don't think they'd go anywhere in that direction. So it'd be more likely that we'd get some reaction character figures with removable helmets, maybe, or we'd get something like Ultimates, which would be cool. But could you vehicle masks? You talk about G.I. Joe as a vehicle line, right? Or it started off as a vehicle line and now is very much a character-based line. But Mask is 100% about the vehicles, isn't it? The characters are cool and fun and everything, and the helmets are dope. Yes, of course. But without the vehicles, it's a weird thing to be getting into. So I don't know. I'd be cool to have figures from the animation that looked like the animated series figures. I think that would be phenomenal. And maybe they could do the odd vehicle as a crowdfunded sort of scenario. But for me, I don't necessarily think this is the case. Again, I'm not saying yay or nay on this one. I just don't, from a personal point of view, I don't think is too much substance to this story. Do you know what I mean? I think it's personally an error here, or I don't know, just maybe some talking out of line sort of scenario. Anyway, if it does turn out to be true, then I take it back 100%. But at the moment, that's just how I feel about it. Now, if that were the case and Hasbro have decided to sell it on, interesting, because that's not in Hasbro's MO to let go of brands, no matter how. I mean, the full-on IP, let that go. Rather than just license it out. It just seems to me even if they don't feel like they're going to do anything with it in the near future, that doesn't mean that in 5 years' time, think of all the rotations through staff and everything through Hasbro, that someone might go, let's try and pitch this to the big guns, and they go, oh, I actually like that idea, let's do that, but we can't because we don't have the IP. So I feel like it's not really in their MO to be giving up licenses, IPs, that kind of stuff. So I just think minimum, Super7 have the license, have acquired the license for it. But more likely, maybe this is just a bit of I don't know, misunderstanding, or say the polite term there. Hey, Super7 do Starcom next, says M Price. Yes, indeed. Charlotte says, well, Brian Flynn said they owned the Silverhawks IP, but it turned out that was a complete misstatement. They have the license to produce merchandise and nothing else. Yes, that was an error on their part, wasn't it? I think they thought they had it, but there was a lot of other things. There were a lot of other issues involved in that. It was more complex than they thought at the time. Because wasn't it something like to do with like the TV company or something? Wasn't that involved? I can't remember the ins and outs, but it was more complex than that. And yeah, it was an error of judgment on their part, definitely. Anyway, that is all I'm going to say on that particular news segment. And probably Pat and I will probably have a little discussion about this, on Saturday. And I'll probably do a little bit more digging in terms of all the other things we've talked about today, just to kind of, get my head in the game for a conversation on the weekly. But anyway, guys, it's been a pleasure chatting with you this morning. Let's just quickly transition. Right then, lots more to come. As I said before, we've got the monthly recording today. That should go out at some point, maybe Sunday or Monday. Then we'll have a monthly extra to go out. We'll have, what else have we got coming? Like I said, Let's Talk Classified doc, which is going to be next up on my Let's Talk Classified videos. Got the weekly, obviously. And I think that's everything for now. And Intel. I'm going to be doing an Intel episode, I promise, tonight. Because obviously I've got nothing else to do. So that'll be going up for patrons, I hope, tonight. And other than that, I think that's everything. I'll see you guys on the next one, which will most likely be for a lot of you on Saturday morning with Pat for the weekly. And like I said, you better stay fresh cheese bags. And as always, after 3, 1, 2, 3, full force. See ya. That's it for this installment of the Full Force News Burst. Make sure to like, comment and subscribe. See you next time, and as always, full force. Make sure you get involved with the discussion by liking, sharing and commenting on these videos, and as always, you can keep up with the show after listening by following on Twitter @TheFullForce, liking the Facebook page, facebook.com/TheFullForce, and if you would like to contact the show, you can message us on either of those platforms with feedback and questions. We also have a Patreon page, so if you want to show your support for the show, see your name up in lights on these videos, or enjoy exclusive bonus content, then check out patreon.com/TheFullForce podcast, or click on the link on any of the posts this podcast appears in. Full Force.